9 Unusual prison meals from different countries. South Korea. In South Korea, the saying "kongbap myeokda" is simple slang for serving time. When translated, it just means to eat kongbap. Kongbap is a dish that generally consists of rice and beans and is extremely notorious in Korea for being surprisingly cheap prison food. It's as bland as the name makes it sound, but fortunately, there's a lot more to Korean jail dining than rice and beans. Bread, tomato sauce, cheese, soup, salad and soy milk are part of their breakfast menu. Lunch might even include a bone marrow and vegetable soup, along with bean sprouts, kimchi and seaweed. Thailand. Australian writer Harry Nicolaides had spent almost 6 months in a Bangkok prison after he had been accused of defaming the Thai monarchy. Visitors were allowed to bring in food for the convicts, but Nicolaides wrote of a rather grim menu for those who were not so lucky to have any outside help. By 7 o'clock, a bell would be rung, and all the prisoners would line up outside the mess hall, where plates filled with steamed rice husks were sitting on the benches for nearly half an hour. Nicolaides wrote of all the wealthy inmates who would pay off the prison commodore, whose wife went shopping for luxurious food. Japan. A cafe located in the far northern town of Abashiri has quite an unusual option on its menu. It allows its diners to eat whatever the inmates of the nearby maximum security prison eat. This generally means a dinner of rice boiled with mackerel pike, daikon radish, barley, noodle salad and miso soup. One journalist had even reported his complete surprise at the flavors on offer, stating that the meal wasn't exactly wanting in flavor, with the sweetness of the Japanese radish perfectly complementing the rice and the aroma of the mackerel. China. American Stuart B. Foster had described an extremely brutal and unrelenting system in jail in China after he had been locked up for 8 months there. Foster had then been forced to assemble Christmas lights all day and only save 2 10-minute breaks for lunch and dinner. If work production did not improve, the prisoners were forced to have their rations halved. Foster had stated that in each meal, the prisoners were fed turnips, rice, and some pork fat, which tasted terrible but was just enough to sustain life. A cut in food rations was completely devastating, and Foster even remembers a few prisoners starting to look skeletal. New Zealand. No one will ever go hungry in New Zealand jails, but the options are a bit uninspiring. Breakfast generally alternates between Weet-Bix and rice bubbles. Options for sandwiches offered at lunch will most likely include creamed corn, carrot, relish, coleslaw and mayo and luncheon with pickle. Dinner choices will also include sausages with curry sauce, meatloaf along with onion gravy and fish with tomato sauce. India. India's unbelievably extensive population and diverse culinary traditions mean that there's plenty of variation in prison food, but one man who had been jailed for 11 days gave a thorough rundown of all the meals. Breakfast was simply a rice dish, pulihora, and lunch was a rather watery sambar, lentil stew, along with rice and a different curry every day. Dinner was a simple rasam, which is a tamarind juice soup along with rice, mutton or chicken curry, served on Sundays. There's a rather wide range of expenditure on Indian prison food by state, with Delhi spending nearly 31 rupees, which is about 60 cents per day, on food, and Nagaland shelling out about 139 rupees, $2.80. Russia. Andrei Barabanov had spent just about 4 years locked up after he was arrested at an anti-Putin protest back in 2012. Upon his release, Andrei decided to create an Instagram page where he would post recipes of all the food he and his fellow inmates made from all their meager supplies. Andrei stated that the prison didn't exactly give them porridge in the canteen but an incomprehensible grey mass. Andrei even wrote of making all his own meals with items he bought from the prison canteen. One such delicacy was homemade Nutella, made by simply blending crushed digestive biscuits along with cocoa powder. United States. With counties, states, cities, and the federal government all running their own prisons and jails, there's a surprisingly wide variety of meals as a prisoner in the U.S. The Federal Bureau of Prisons menu reportedly features diverse selections like hummus wraps, Swedish meatballs, bean burritos as well as sloppy joes. Disobedient inmates in some jails are also fed Nutriloaf, an extraordinarily bland mashup of all the possible vegetables. Nutriloaf is so incredibly unappealing that prisons have even faced multiple lawsuits from convicts declaring it absolutely cruel and the worst kind of punishment. Norway. Among all of its Scandinavian neighbors, Norway is known for being the most homely prisons in the world. In Bastøy prison, prisoners are fed extremely wholesome meals like fish balls with white sauce and prawns, chicken con carne as well as salmon. The inmates can also watch TVs in their cells, provided they bring them in themselves. Neither the guards nor the inmates have any uniforms, and there's a monthly stipend if inmates want to purchase and cook their own food. In Australia, only about 44% of released prisoners had been jailed again within just 2 years. In Norway, that number is only 20%.